because even in a dream, your outer reality changes, obviously. You know, you dream. What happens with that dream reality when you wake up? It's gone, you know, and then you're in an apparently wakeful reality.
Yeah.
What happens when you go to sleep? The wakeful reality disappears.
Yeah.
But what is the same? Your awareness. We in Vedanta, we are saying very clearly, you are already what you're looking for. You are already the known, dual, uncreated awareness.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I'm here with Pujan. How are you, Pujan?
I'm great, yeah, thank you.
Very good. So Pujan is a psychologist as well as a student and teacher of Vedanta. So I'm very interested in having a chat with you because indeed you are a very senior person when it comes to, you know, the kind of things that we love. First of all, I'd like to ask you, what is your journey in life?
Okay, now, as you said, I'm senior, meaning I'm old. So, no. But of course, my journey started very early. And I want to just say, one of my trigger points was when I was 14 or 15, I drove to school, or actually I walked to school, and I saw a big sign, a little poster from a bank, from a German bank that was in Germany. Work till you're 65 and then enjoy life. That was for a retirement fund. And it hit me, because I still remember it. It hit me because I saw my parents. I was brought up in the post-war area in Germany, and that was all about work, you know, Wiederaufbau, they call it, you know, to build it again, because everything was destroyed. And then, of course, I said to myself, I don't want to live like this. I can't live like this. So, but what are the alternatives? In the 60s and beginning of the 70s, there was a saying, don't trust anybody over 30. I mean, now when you
I'm 44.
Yeah. No, but there was a reason in that, because people over 30 were all damaged through the war.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
And there were no wise people around. You could actually talk about existential problems, you know. Who am I? What am I? What is this world all about? And so on. There was only the church, and it was just starting books like Erich Fromm and so on, who opened up Western psychology. So for me to find out answers to that question, obviously the natural thing was, well, let's study psychology. It didn't give me the answer, because it's very much Freudian based and so on. But of course, I got a little bit of an understanding, but was still very unsatisfied. And unsatisfied with Germany as well. It was a very rebellious time. It was actually a very alive time, you know. 1969 was Woodstock, you know, and in Germany, particular, where I was brought up, Hamburg, was a very alive place. So I finished my study. I left Germany, backpack, gone. You know? And my first stop in looking for answers was, of course, India. You know, this is where you went, and you know there were the buses you could go, and you know this whole hippie trip.
Still today.
Yeah, still today, but not to the same level. Now you have lonely planets, and you look. You know, there were no lonely planets. Okay, I went, and then I ended up in the ashram in Pune with Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and it was the perfect time at the perfect moment, because the other fellow travelers were coming from very similar backgrounds. They were psychologists, doctors, lawyers, very highly, not everybody of course, you know, but very highly trained people, and we were all very spiritual naive. Yeah, we had no idea about spirituality. Yeah? So he introduced therapies. And we forget about this, but 50, 60 years ago, there were hardly any therapies available. And Osho played with all of these therapies that were popular at that time, a lot of expressive therapies. So he made his meditations expressive. And there was Gestalt therapy that I studied, and rebirthing. I mean, you know, primal scream, you know, so encounter. I mean, it was really dynamic. And of course, coming from German studies, this was just blew my mind. So it was a really great experimental journey from intellectual understanding to actually my own learning. Okay. Moved then to Australia, traveled around the world, settled in Australia, and after some, it wasn't that easy, but you know, I could do it. There was another major development in my life. I was a staff member of the Blue Mountain Transpersonal Psychology Center, which was unbelievable because it was well ahead of its time. It was run by an ex-Catholic priest who became a Jungian analyst, and a woman who had spontaneous Kundalini awakenings. She had no idea what that was, you know, it just looked like psychotic episodes and so on. So they two together invited the people with the most knowledge at that time, now we're talking the 80s, to come to Australia. Stanislav Grof, for example, and his wife, and other people that are not so well known who wrote books about, at that time, about the Kundalini experience. And we worked on ourselves, looking into this phenomena, and then we had spiritual emergency centers where people who couldn't integrate the Kundalini experience, because it's a pretty dynamic thing. I mean, it's a whole another story. So I just want to cut it very briefly. And of course, because it was an ex-Catholic priest, nuns and priests could actually go there as well and have some time out, you know, after 7-10 years. I didn't know that either. We were actually in a building that was sponsored by the Catholic Church.
Wow.
And these people, they were really open, of course, with their own trauma. But can you imagine, you know, here I came from Osho, and Tantra, of course, was there as well. And here, in my audience, there were nuns and priests who were still nuns and priests.
Just taking a break.
Taking a break.
I didn't know they could do that, you know.
I didn't know that either. Okay, but another story.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then I, on and off, I went to India, and my own journey went from the expressive therapies into Buddhism. I moved then into Zen Buddhism. First into Theravada Buddhism, of course, with Vipassana, you sit. Then I couldn't really go any further in my awareness of sensation. I needed something stronger. That's the mind, of course, you know. Always something better, something. And I found a Zen Roshi, and was actually on the path becoming a Zen monk. Wow. And it didn't happen. It's not for me. But my dedication was very strong. And I saw in one of those movies you were shooting, there was a person who has a Zen background. And I really had to smile when he said, oh, it's about relaxation of the body, and it's about... No, it's not. At least not in my experience in Japanese Zen. You know? Zazen means just sitting. And it's not only just sitting, you have a guy walking behind you with a stick. So if you doze off a little bit, you know, you get first a tip on your left shoulder. You think, oh gosh, oh yeah, thank you. Then whack, 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 you know, and that's painful, you know.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course you get koans that have no answer, just to intensify the experience for you. You know, we all know the sound of one hand clapping, but there are many more crazy ones. And the Roshi twice a day rings your little bell. You come in. Apparently, you have to give him an answer, but he pretty much looks at you and gling, 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 go again. So you are totally lost, you know, and you sit again. So it builds up, builds up, builds up. So it's the most tense way of meditation. And then, hopefully, you have a breakthrough of a samadhi.
Okay.
Yeah. That actually happened to me, not in the sitting, but then later. And that samadhi, Savakalpa samadhi, I don't want to go too much into this.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Yeah, there are different types.
There are different types of samadhi. That was incredible, lasted for weeks. And in these few weeks, I obviously thought I'm enlightened. You know, I mean, everything is clear. You read the scripture and you can add your own little commentary to it. And I was clear. People came to me and says, oh, Pujan, you know, what happened? I said, I don't know, but I can share. Yes. And then you go home. That was happened in India when I was on a retreat. And you go home. I'm married, 2 children. Somebody has to bring the rubbish out. I had to work. And then one morning, it became less and less. And then one morning, I woke up. And that insight, basically the samadhi, which is an experience, and the nature of any experience, as you know, it has a beginning, a middle, and drum roll, it has an end.
Yes.
You know?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it has an end. You know, that's the nature of an experience, and even a samadhi is an experience. Let's leave it there. It's an experience. So I woke up and I fell in a form of depression, not clinical depression. Because it's sort of like you are allowed in the chocolate factory, you know, you're looking around, everything is clear, and then suddenly you are pretty much your old self again. And that created a sort of form of depression in me, and a cynical thing about spirituality. Up to that point, I was a dedicated spiritual seeker, you know. Then I found it, and then I lost it again. So it went on for 2-3 years. I wasn't reading any spiritual books anymore. I wasn't meditating anymore, you know. And then I still went to India, sort of for the curries and for the, I don't know, you know. Something was still pulling me there. And then I was in a very powerful place that is now my spiritual home, Tiruvannamalai. Have you heard? Yeah, Ramana's ashram. Yeah,
in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, in Tamil Nadu, correct. And I was just there more or less as a tourist, you know. And there was a friend sitting at the next table, and she waved me over. And she was sitting, there were 6 people or so, sitting with an older American man. I said, okay, yeah, I have nothing better to do. So I sat with them, and he wasn't, you know, I mean, I didn't particularly liked him. He said, I'm a redneck from Montana. You know, from Montana. Montana is really sort of, yeah. But what he was saying blew my mind. And he was, yes, drum roll, he was a Vedantic teacher, Advaita Vedantic teacher. And there was finally a teaching that gave me the answers that I couldn't find through Buddhism, and clearly not through Osho, because Osho was beginner's path. That was really, but even in Buddhism, of course, if I would have maybe found a stronger teacher or so on, maybe I would have found it. But in Vedanta, I found all the answers, because I do have an intellectual mind, and I like to have straight answers to straight questions. Like, who am I? And how do I get there? And why don't I get it now? Yeah, these clear questions. And in Buddhism, I didn't get the answer. It was all be nice, and share and be a good person in order to have a good karma. It's all good. But, sorry, I give it to me straight. Yeah. Maybe it's my German upbringing, I don't know. But
it's a different path.
It's a different path, yeah. And yes, and I got it. And then I moved more deeply into Vedanta, into the logic of Vedanta, because Vedanta is the path of knowledge, Gyan Yoga.
Yeah.
Yes, in one way it is the most difficult path, but it's the most direct path as well. Because contrary to other paths like Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, so on, Karma Yoga, you need to be qualified. And this is what people don't understand. Qualified? Me? I read Eckhart Tolle. What do you mean? I'm qualified, You see, in the new age now, in this area here, everybody throws around, oh, we are all one, just be, or just surrender. Now, I heard it so many times. I mean, and I ask you, what does it mean, just be? I didn't know. Or just let go. What do you mean? I mean, maybe you can let go under in a certain vibration, but as soon as you go out shopping, your surrender or being or whatever is gone already. You need more than this. You need the knowledge of what does it mean to surrender, and who surrenders what, and what is real. Real means unchanging, and what is changing all the time. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's this beautiful saying, what changes, don't worry about it, because it changes all. And what doesn't change, don't worry, it doesn't change, basically. But yeah, what doesn't change? Consciousness. Because even in a dream, your outer reality changes, obviously. You dream. What happens with that dream reality when you wake up? It's gone, and then you're in an apparently wakeful reality.
Yeah.
What happens when you go to sleep? The wakeful reality disappears.
Yeah.
But what is the same? Your awareness. Yeah? You're still aware. And even in deep sleep, in the Madhukya Upanishad, it's clearly explained. Even in deep sleep, awareness is still there. Because when you wake up from deep sleep, you said, oh, I had such a great sleep. You don't die during deep sleep, There is still the flame of consciousness there. So that doesn't change. Awareness doesn't change. Everything else, from a point of Advaita Vedanta, changes.
Yeah.
And who is aware of these changes? I am. So what the scripture says, Tat Svam Asi, I am that. That means the unchanging. But to understand that, you need to really be totally focused on the questioning of, and now we go into the theory that I don't want to go too much into it, but who am I? Who is aware? And even the thought processes. You had an interview, sorry, that doesn't matter, but I read some of your interviews. There was this woman was saying, oh no, it was a man actually. He was saying, I have no idea, thoughts are random, they just come to me. And I think he had the thought of killing somebody. No, yes. Thoughts are not totally random.
Okay.
They are based on your samskaras. Samskaras means your underlining it's based in karma, in samskaras, subconscious tendency, the imprints, and this is psychology as well, of course, our subconscious.
And so that's the conditioning you start as a child or even in prenatal up until now.
Yes. And karma has a little bit to do, but this is a bit more difficult to explain. And the gunas. Yeah? Gunas again.
Predispositions.
Yeah, dispositions. So these thoughts that are apparently random are not that random.
Pujan, for somebody that doesn't know much about the Vedanta philosophy or philosophy in general, first of all, why do we need philosophy in life? Because, some people say we just need science, and they tell us what to do, and just we live life according to the science, and that's it. But I also believe that philosophy is a much more important component of the way we live.
We need two legs to stand in. I mean, sure, you don't need philosophy. You can live your life very happily, well, probably not happily, but just based in being atheist or so on. Science is often enough. My father lived like that, to the very end. Yeah? But once you actually experienced suffering, which of course the Buddha said, the whole world is based on suffering, and of course we know, even though you might live a cozy life up to a certain age, very few people do, but let's assume that there is still at the end suffering of your physical body, of your mental body, and so on. So, and this suffering, of course, brings then questions. Why me? Why do I suffer? And then you look out, like the Buddha looks and sees suffering all around. Will I suffer one day? And that made the Buddha move away from his kingly life.
Yeah.
But when somebody says, for example, I teach meditation as well. When somebody said to me the other day, oh, why should I meditate? I mean, what a waste of time sitting there and whatever. I said, you don't need to. You just need more suffering.
And then you seek some way,
you
some
seek
tools.
some way out. Yeah? The spiritual longing, deep down in us, it's in all of us, because this question of who am I is in our DNA. Everybody has it, but through karmic, or let's say it this way, in some people it's overwhelming, the thirst to know, and other people, they still need their time. I never try to persuade somebody or convince somebody. I'm actually not even talking about it if nobody asks me. Yeah, I mean, one of the things is rather be quiet, because when people have that longing, it's like thirst. You seek out people who apparently have that wisdom. Yeah? And even if they don't have the ultimate wisdom, it still helps. I had so many teachers in my life, and I'm grateful for everybody, and everybody gives me a certain understanding. But when you're thirsty, you're looking for a drink. If you're not thirsty, if you're happy, fine.
And indeed, so when you're thirsty, you want to know why you're suffering, or why
Yes.
you exist, or what is the meaning
Yes.
of life, because just doing your routines, your 9 to 5, it's not enough.
No.
And you knew it early on when you saw the ad, retire at 65. And some people have it, and many people in Koh Phangan, I think, in their own ways, they're trying to seek, learn, develop in a way or another. And of course, you say spirituality, spiritual path are there, they help you, and also the philosophical path is there. Are they separate? Is philosophy and spirituality separate, or?
Both of these should come together, and I really like my background in psychology that I can very easily bring into spirituality. I had another epiphany when I was working as a psychologist, and people came to me. A man came to me very early on in my studies, and he said, I don't like my job, I hate my job. My wife wants to divorce me, and my kids don't talk to me. Fix me.
Yeah, good luck.
And I went home and I said to myself, what does it actually mean to be a happy human being? Because I didn't learn happiness in psychology. I learned how to function more naturally and normally, but not what happiness is. Only when I embraced Eastern philosophy, who were not concerned about your individual neurosis. They were only concerned about enlightenment, basically. Yeah? I could see the bridge. You know, it was psychology can actually prepare you for the spiritual path. And I see this very, and in my own teaching, I can meet people where they're at, psychology-wise, and then move them into the spiritual. Now psychology has matured, thank God. We have positive psychology, for example, that is much more in line. Still, there's a separation and all of that, but it's moving in the right direction to indicate actually what does it mean to be happy, to content. So I very much like the connection, I find it very helpful for us in the West, between psychology and spirituality.
And philosophy is just, it's not, so I think I associate psychology to the individual, and philosophy more to a more generic way of living. So different, like ethics, for instance, the knowledge of reality, like epistemology, etc. And spirituality, as you said, in the East, philosophy and spirituality are very much intertwined.
Yeah. Yes.
In the West, maybe a little bit less.
Yes.
I suppose.
Yes.
But I'm very interested in all the subjects you're talking about. So the psychology, anthropological aspect is amazing. I like to do more on it. Philosophy, I was exposed at an early age to the Greeks and the Western philosophy, obviously.
Yeah.
And more recently, indeed, to Eastern philosophies, and also they say Buddhism is pretty much the joining of philosophy and spirituality at the same time. Some people call Buddhism a philosophy more than a religion. What do you think of that?
It's both. I mean, we are living here in Thailand, and there is very much religious, a very strong religious structure here for the people to go to the temple, to give to the monks, to do their puja. You know, that's the religion. You know, that keeps the people together into the same focus.
The rituals,
the rituals,
the institution.
Exactly. But then we have, of course, the esoteric parts of Buddhism here in Thailand, particularly in the north, the forest monk tradition and so on, that I was very interested in when I was in the Vipassana sequence of my life. So they have both. But religion, for me, is of course structured spirituality with rules and regulations and all of that. And in a way, it's political as well.
Being an institution of
institutionalized.
And the Vedanta, I mean, this is the philosophy that you feel, you really feel drawn towards, and that's the one that you decided to study the most.
Yes, it is. This came, and I have to always say that after 25 years of intense spiritual exploration, search. I was ready for it. So all my blessings to Osho, because when I went there, 26, 27 or whatever, I was not open to any of that. I wanted to have fun. Yeah. And Osho really could bring that out, you know. He even gave me the name Pujan, you know. I should be a celebration. My very being has to pulsate with joy and so on, you know. So that was really necessary at this stage. But then 25 years later, Vedanta really set me free. It was something, basically I prepared my whole life for it. And I have to say that even though it includes all the paths, Vedanta is not against bhakti, for example. I still have a bhakti ritual every morning and so on. Nice. I practice Raja Yoga or Hatha Yoga, you know. So it's not against all, Karma Yoga, for example, as well. It's not against the path. It includes all the paths, but it's not for everybody. And thank God, we're all a bit different. Yeah. But for me, and I would say for people who love to use their intellect as well as their meditative practice, it's, well, it's the best. You know, because it cuts through all the spiritual bullshit that there is. You know? And once you have that knowledge, once you have that understanding, you can look at all of that like, oh yeah, that's great, you know. I read, here on the island we have so many funny things, you know. What was it? Your chakra was not aligned.
Blocked or something.
Yeah, blocked. Yes, oh, it's great, you know. Oh, you can redesign your DNA. Oh, wow, beautiful, you know. You can look into all of this with an open heart.
Sure.
But you know, in the essence, this is just kids playing in the sandbox.
Yeah, that's what Koh Phangan is a little bit. Is lots of new people opening themselves up to spirituality, self-discovery, experimentation.
Yes.
In a beautiful tropical setting,
Exactly.
very safe. We like the sweetness of the mango in Koh Phangan is as sweet as it gets.
As sweet as it gets.
And that's why we love it as well. It's a little bit hedonistic island as well. And it's a phase in life when indeed you want to develop and learn, but possibly if you want deeper truths or deeper practices, I suppose places in India, you know, around the world, they can be more. But then you have like teachers like yourself who are very senior and choose to live in Koh Phangan too.
It's true. But you see, I don't put posters up, you know. You have to somehow find the teachers. I mean, as I say, when you're ready, the right teachers appears, which was definitely true in my life, and in many other lives as well. You know, there are different there are different teachers for the level you're in. Yeah? And really, the more aware and the more conscious and the more your path narrows, the more difficult it is to find the right teacher. Yeah. And what I do like here on the island is there's a certain tribe, there's a certain understanding between people here, which I lived in Byron Bay in Australia, which was another one of those places till Hollywood came in and destroyed in a way everything. But Byron Bay was very much like that as well, and Goa, Ibiza, you know, now in Mexico, there are pockets of the tribe, which, I very much like, and of course the environmental beauty helps to realize the inner beauty, which is clearly a case here. Yeah.
For people who are interested in philosophy and they are open to learn about the Vedanta philosophy in particular, I know the Gita is the famous book. There are other books that maybe are a little bit easier to read or to interpret. Is that right?
Funny you say that. I actually wrote a book, Advaita Vedanta for Ordinary People.
Yeah.
That's on Amazon, and it's even an audio book. And I wrote this because most of my students, when they hear about Vedanta and they hear about me teaching, they say, "Oh, this is so interesting. Is there a book I can read?" And most of the books, well, actually, I would say nearly all of the books on Vedanta are quite difficult to read for the beginner. Mostly are written by monks or by Indians, for whom Sanskrit is second nature, and they throw in Sanskrit words all the time. I have to use some Sanskrit, but it's not so difficult to pick a few words up. So this is an introduction into Advaita Vedanta.
Okay.
Yes, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads are sort of the base literatures for Vedanta. But I suggest you start gently, you start easy. I can really recommend Swami Saga Priyananda, who is the director of the New York Vedanta Institute, because he has a Western mind as well.
We are talking about the philosophy that underpins the yoga system, so it's a very big subject, right?
Yeah.
And possibly a subject you can spend an entire life.
Yes.
And you still find pearls and knowledge. And that's what it's amazing about philosophy. It's the inquiry never stops. But I mean, what are the main sort of pillars, or what do people that want to learn about philosophy and the Vedanta will find when they start learning about it?
Okay. When they start entering the path, the first is probably confusion. because if you really wrap your mind around this, it's unbelievable. This is not real? Come on. I mean, this seems very, very real to me. Because our identification to our physical body is so strong. Even though when I tell you, if I cut off your hands, would you still call me? Would you still call yourself, that's me, even without arms? Of course. Without legs, well, God forbid, but yes, So where is that sense of me or my body coming from? You are not your physical body. Why not? Whatever you can be aware of, what is an object to you, awareness. Now, when you let that sink in, this is unbelievable. And then of course all these questions comes up. Why is it that I believe this is my body?
It's just an object.
It's just an object.
Like everything that I perceive outside is an object.
Exactly. So who am I then? The subject. Everything else, and the subject is consciousness, everything else is an object. Now, your mind, your intellect, maybe or maybe not can get that. But then 10,000 questions can come up, which I don't go into this because this is now then we step right into the philosophy of it. But it comes up, how come I'm so identified, it very much seems like a separation. Because Vedanta even says, and this is now the final step, which really blows your mind, that even the objects are you. Even the object is like a spider, that out of the spider web comes out and goes back in again, to a certain degree. These objects arise out of consciousness and come back into consciousness. That actually is the true saying of I am that, or there is no separation. We are all one.
Yeah, that's what many people use it as a slogan without fully understand it, right? So to actually, because intellectually it's very nice to think about it, but then to really have a revelation about it or really embody is very difficult, I suppose,
Yes and no. This is the other thing that blows your mind, because we in Vedanta, we are saying very clearly, you are already what you're looking for. You are already the known, dual, uncreated awareness. You always have been, but you are ignorant. You're ignorant of the fact. Okay, when you're ignorant, what do you need to do? You need to have knowledge, which Vedanta gives you to understand that. But finally, you are already it, but you don't know it. I often use this example of, I don't have my glasses here, they're outside, but when you put your glasses on, and you put them on top of your head, and then you think, actually happened to me literally, where are my glasses? you know, and then you look into your room, you know, and you ask anybody, where are my glasses? Oh, I don't know. Maybe go to India to look for your glasses. Oh yeah, okay, then you go to India, you look for your glasses. You go all over the world to look for your glasses till one day you give up. Yeah, you go home and says, I don't know, my glasses are, who knows where my glasses are. And then you are so giving up, so broken in a way, and then somebody comes along, you know, and says, okay, if you trust me, yeah, okay, whatever, yeah, fine, I'm ready. Just raise your hand. Why? Just raise your hand. Okay, I have nothing to lose. Now bring your hands to your head. Yeah, why? Okay. And suddenly there are the glasses. They've always been on the top of your head. Now, how would you react after 20 years looking for your glasses? You first burst out laughing, most likely, you know, tears of joy. They were always on my head.
That's the revelation, the awakening.
This is the awakening, you know, and that is sort of the first samadhi. Yeah?
And then, as you say, for a while you're very happy with it.
Very happy
then
with
the experience ends, and you go back to not reality, but to your normal perception of reality.
Yes, and because I didn't have any help. I went to another teacher after that and told him my story, and he said, look, you never lost it, of course, your understanding, but what you needed was just a place to integrate that with a teacher. And at that time, there was no teacher for me who could help me to say, okay, now stay with that. Now, who is aware of that? Keep on meditating. And in an environment that is not so distracting. That's what ashrams were for. Spiritual centers were for.
Retreats.
Retreat, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have that in the West as such. Here now, a retreat, you still do a lot of things.
Yeah,
you know?
it's kind of a wellness posture.
A wellness posture. Which
juices.
Is, yeah, you drink juices, you do your yoga in the evening.
It's lovely places, but not like an ashram. Yeah,
exactly, you know. Where in India, you still do that. I mean, this Indian guy who was another one of my teachers, he said, that's the only reason I built my ashram, you know. And I was lucky, or somebody else was lucky, a student of mine, who actually has been with me for a while to integrate that. And you're very lucky if you can do that.
Okay, so basically you might have a glimpse of enlightenment or some sort of clarity, some sort of first awakening or samadhi. Then once you had that, you need some gentle practice, some teachers that keeps on reminding you sort of the fundamentals of this awakening.
Correct.
And that's something that you need to have on an ongoing and permanent basis, and that makes your life a better life ultimately. Is that right?
Well, a better life, yes. It's the only life in a way, you know. But yes, you could say that. You see, when you're the whole spiritual journey is only for your intellect. Your intellect has to understand that what you're looking for is already you. Mm-hmm. So it's only a learning of your intellect. But the intellect is small and powerless compared to your emotional side. Mm-hmm. I often use this example of an elephant representing our emotions, and the elephant handler, a little boy on top of the elephant. You know, this little boy on the top of the elephant is your intellect. Yeah, who reads a book of Eckhart Tolle? Oh, sorry, I don't want to bag him, but it says, oh yes, I know. It's only the present moment. This is great. You know, I'm close to enlightenment. Your elephant, though, your emotional side, has nothing of that.
The compulsions.
It's a compulsion.
The desires.
Exactly.
Always pulling you in different directions, confusing your life all the time.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And even though your little boy says, okay, for example, every morning I want to wake up. This is so good. I read this in a book, you know. Wake up at 6 o'clock and do my meditation, do my this and do my that, eat very healthy, stop smoking, blah, blah, blah. Very good idea. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. The elephant has nothing of that. What, 6 o'clock? Nah, not today, you know. So how do you train an animal, particularly like an elephant? Slowly, slowly. You know, you have to practice slowly, slowly with rewards. But once your emotional side gets it, it becomes a routine. It's very easy. You probably know this in your own life. You know, maybe in the beginning, new changes, more positive changes, are quite difficult because of patterns, habits, and so on. But once you are getting used to it, for example, meditation, you know, oh, it should be so good to meditate. But once you do it every morning, and if it's only for 20 minutes, you sit every morning for 20 minutes, it becomes second nature. And
I love meditation.
Yeah, and it becomes very natural. If you don't do this, you think something is missing.
Like not taking a shower, you know?
Yeah, like all brushing your teeth, you know. Actually, in a way, somebody said to me, you brushing your teeth when you get up and then you have breakfast. How silly is that? You know? I mean, it's true. Yeah, you know, but we want brushing the teeth before breakfast. These patterns become second nature after a while. Once you tamed the elephant, it's easy, and you both, the intellect and the emotional side, work together.
I understand. It's a great way of explaining it. So all we need is for the intellect to be interested in the journey and to start off somewhere, and then slowly introducing newer habits or a desire for learning or some sort of spiritual path, and then slowly through the journey of a lifetime, because it might take 10, 15, 20 years, the elephant will be a little bit more docile.
Yes.
Over time.
Yes. And in fact, the elephant will then help you as well. Yeah. Once the emotional, once you will basically train your emotional side, train the elephant, he will do what you want him to do. But in the beginning, you might think the greatest idea is to sit every morning and drink, green juice or whatever. But the elephant says, no way. But after a while, the elephant says, oh, why haven't you said this morning? I don't feel so good. And you know this as well. When you don't do your meditation, there's something missing. Yeah? This is a well-trained elephant, who says, sorry, this is what you want to do. And this is, when we talk about free will or so on, there's another subject, but this will we have. We have the will to be masters of our mind. Yeah? And then the intellect, can tell the elephant what to do. That choice we have. So this is why sadhana, spiritual practice, is really necessary. It's not even important, it's absolutely essential for everybody who is inclined to look deeper into themselves.
That's lovely. Okay, I mean, I think we covered quite a few subjects already. I mean, we could spend days talking. I know that you are teaching in Koh Phangan as well sometimes.
Yes. I used to. I had now talking past tense. I used to have once a week a satsang. Satsang, sat meaning truth. Sang comes from sangha, community. So basically, we're talking about Advaita Vedanta. And it was very lovely. I stopped now for a while for many reasons, and I'm going to India very soon. But then I start again. Once a week, a casual gathering in my house, talking about these subjects.
Because you have a house in Koh Phangan, so you'll definitely be back after India, yeah?
Oh yeah, I have another 20 years visa, so that's my home. That's my home.
Well, Pujan, thank you very much for these pearls. Again, it's just a brief introduction, but you made me think as well, so I got something to integrate after this. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.